There's an old saying that says you should only believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, and that goes double for any situation involving the subject of this week's episode. These are the basics on the two-faced master manipulator, Sideways. The first Transformers toy to bear the name Sideways was released in early 2002 as part of the Robots in Disguise toy line. An Autobot ninja who transformed into a Yamaha GTS 1000 motorcycle, the profile on Sideways' packaging described him as a silent and mysterious bot who took his work seriously but revealed little of himself to his allies. He was a recolor of the 1995 Autobot Road Rocket, one of the two laser cycles from the Transformers Generation 2 toy line, so named for the light-up energy buzzsaw weapon he came with. And he was sold in a 2-pack with the Decepticon Axer, who was a recolor of the other laser cycle, Road Pig. It was later the same year that the second and most famous Sideways was introduced, in the Transformers Armada toy line. Armada Sideways also transformed into a motorcycle, and had almost exactly the same profile as the Robots in Disguise character, with one key difference. He suffered from a split personality. One good side, one evil. This unpredictable condition was caused by Sideways' two Unicron partners, Crosswise and Rook, who came packaged with him. Each of the small robots could transform into a head for Sideways, which, when attached over his regular head, would reveal a different insignia on his chest. Crosswise turned Sideways into a Decepticon, while Rook made him an Autobot, and the pair could also combine into a larger robot that could ride Sideways in bike mode. However, the whole idea of Sideways having a split personality was thrown out by the Armada animated series, which took an entirely different approach to the character that made him a central figure in the show's overarching storyline and defined the role that he would play in Transformers history. In the cartoon, Sideways was an agent of the monster planet Unicron, a cold, mysterious, deceitful bot sent to Earth to locate the three Unicron weapons that would revive his master from hibernation. Using his alternate heads, he sowed chaos by masquerading first as an Autobot, then as a Decepticon, manipulating the two factions from within, to have them gather the weapons for him. Though eventually driven out by the Decepticons when they realized he was deceiving them, he managed to tempt the power-hungry Decepticon tactician Thrust to his side, and with his aid successfully united the Unicron weapons and reactivated Unicron. Sideways' connection to Unicron gave him unearthly powers, like the ability to enter trans-phase mode and become an amorphous mass of tentacles and static that allowed him to heal from any injury. Unicron was even able to possess his body and speak through him once awakened. But after the Unicrons were rescued and Unicron was deactivated once more, a shot from the Requiem blaster courtesy of Optimus Prime appeared to end Sideways' threat for good. Now, as written, the Armada cartoon intended for Sideways to have been created by Unicron, grown from his own cells. But this was retconned away when Sideways returned in the 2005 sequel series, Transformers Cybertron, having survived his apparent demise, now sporting an alien spacecraft alternate mode and armed with a bladed shield featuring interchangeable Autobot and Decepticon insignia. This series revealed Sideways' true origins. He was from Planet X, a world that had long ago been destroyed in a war with the Cybertronian colony planet Gigantian. The planet's few survivors had sought out Unicron and pledged to serve him in return for the power that would allow them to claim revenge on Gigantian for the loss of their world. The Cybertron cartoon played Sideways as a less serious character than he'd been in Armada, still a dangerous, unpredictable con-man, but now with a goofy, erratic sense of humour, and the power of teleportation. The series saw Sideways insert himself into the midst of the Autobots and Decepticons' search for the long-lost Cyber Planet keys, helping, hindering, deceiving, and disorienting both factions, his feigned loyalties changing from one minute to the next, all so that he and fellow Planet X survivor Soundwave could seize the keys for themselves and use their power to take revenge on Gigantian. However, the pair made the mistake of getting between Megatron and Starscream while they were fighting over the keys, and wound up caught in a clash of energy so powerful that it blasted them into another dimension. But while they didn't get their revenge, they did get a happy ending. The new world Sideways and Soundwave found themselves in contained a version of Planet X, enabling the pair to return to the home that they had so long ago lost. Now, between these toys and cartoons, precisely who and what Sideways was had been rewritten and retconned several times. But another layer of confusion and ambiguity was added to his story in between Armada and Cybertron, when another Sideways toy was released in 2004's Japanese exclusive toy line, Robot Masters, which blended aspects of the previous Sidewayses together. Like Robots in Disguise Sideways, Robot Masters Sideways was a recolored laser cycle. Specifically, he was a recolor of Road Pig, who transformed into a Harley-Davidson Electra Glide motorcycle. But his colors were based on Armada Sideways, as was his personality. He was a meddling trickster who deceived others for his own enjoyment. The plot of Robot Masters involved characters from different series from all across time and space, converging in the world of the original 1980s Transformers cartoon to battle over the element solitarium. This opened up the possibility that this Sideways was Armada Sideways, and furthermore, seemed to be deliberately implying that he was, in fact, also the same character as Robots in Disguise Sideways, having jumped from world to world. Sideways hit the big screen in the 2009 live-action movie Revenge of the Fallen. This incarnation of the character was the first to not be connected to any pre-existing version of Sideways. Rather, he was a Decepticon courier who transformed into an Audi R8 sports car, and who preferred to avoid combat by hanging around larger Decepticons who could take the heat for him. He had only a brief role in the film, attempting to flee the Autobots when they discovered him hiding out in China, which ended when he was bisected by Sideswipe. Of course, things are rarely that cut and dried in the world of the Transformers. The year after the film came out, the second volume of the Transformers animated guidebook, the Allspark Almanac, introduced a Transformers animated version of Sideways, whose design combined elements of both the Armada and Revenge of the Fallen characters. Building on what Robot Masters had insinuated, the book explicitly stated that this Sideways had come to the animated universe from another dimension, implying that he was, once again, the Armada character, and that he would go on to jump again into the movie universe, hinting at the possibility that Revenge of the Fallen Sideways might also be the same character as every other version of Sideways out there. Almanac author Jim Sorensen continued to playfully explore this idea of Sideways as a dimension-hopping troublemaker with an ambiguous identity in 2015, when a version of Sideways temporarily took over the Transformers Collectors Club's online Q&A column, Ask Vector Prime. Displaying his more comedic persona from Cybertron, Sideways rarely gave readers truthful or even straight answers, and delighted in causing further confusion over just how many versions of him were out there, if any of them were really the same being or not, and just which of his supposed origin stories were true. Maybe he was a creation of Unicron. Maybe he was a native of Planet X. Maybe he really was just an Autobot ninja with a Minicon-induced split personality. Maybe he was all of those things, or maybe he was none of them. We haven't seen Sideways since Ask Vector Prime wrapped up, but his in-story roles as a master of manipulation and misdirection have combined with his naughty real-world history of rewrites, reimaginings, and retcons to make his name synonymous with chaos and confusion throughout the Transformers multiverse. Whatever face Sideways will be wearing if and when he next rears his head, he's one bot, perhaps above all others, to never be trusted. And those are the basics on Sideways, definitely one of my favourite Armada characters, but let me know in the comments which of his many possible stories is your favourite. If you've enjoyed this video, you can support the series on Patreon, or just like and subscribe for more history and lore from the world of the Transformers.